How to live true to yourself, a Stoic perspective. There's a quiet question that follows so many of us through life. Who am I, really, when no one's watching? It's a question we avoid because facing it means peeling back layers. Layers of expectations, of masks, of shoulds, and in their place we find something far more fragile and far more real, ourselves. But why is it so hard to live as that person? Why do we spend so much time trying to be someone the world will accept? The answer is simple and complicated. From the moment we're young, we're taught to fit in, be polite, don't speak too loud, don't be too different, smile, even when you don't feel like it, say what they want to hear, be who they want you to be. And over time, we learn how to wear faces, at school, at work, in public, even online. We filter ourselves, edit ourselves, until who we are becomes a performance. And slowly we lose the voice beneath it all, the one that says, this isn't really me. We live in a world that rewards image more than integrity, where appearance is often valued more than truth, and where being liked sometimes feels more important than being whole. No wonder we struggle, because to be yourself in a world that constantly tells you to be something else, that's not easy. That's not weakness. That's courage. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, wrote, "Most men are not really men. They wear a mask. They show others what they think will be approved, not who they are." Even 2,000 years ago, the struggle was the same. To belong, we sacrifice honesty. To avoid rejection, we reject parts of ourselves first. We pretend, we perform, we stay silent when we want to speak, we agree when we disagree. We go along to get along. And all the while, something inside us whispers, what if you just showed up as you? Not the polished version, not the perfect one, just you. But here's the fear that holds us back. What if I'm not enough? What if I'm too weird, too sensitive, too honest, too quiet? What if I show up as myself and I'm not accepted? That's the risk. But here's the truth. The people who truly matter don't love the version of you you pretend to be. They love the one you hide, the one that's messy, the one that's real, the one that's been aching to come home. Living authentically doesn't mean being loud or rebellious. It means being honest. It means asking yourself, is this really me? Before you say yes, before you post, before you agree, before you change to match someone else. It means being brave enough to disappoint others so you don't keep disappointing yourself. And maybe, just maybe, it means realizing the most courageous act isn't chasing greatness. It's being yourself completely, without apology, without disguise, because that's where peace lives, not in pretending, but in presence. So the next time you feel that tug to change who you are, pause, breathe, and ask, am I doing this to be liked or to be aligned? Is this me or just my mask? The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more real ones. People brave enough to say, this is who I am. I'm still learning, still growing, but I'm done hiding. And if that's you, welcome. You've already won the hardest battle. If living true to yourself is the goal, then knowing yourself is where it all begins. Because how can you be real in a world full of noise if you haven't taken the time to listen to your own voice? The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't chase fame. They didn't care about being admired. They cared about something much more powerful, self-awareness. Epictetus once said, no man is free who is not master of himself, and you cannot master what you don't even know. Think about it. We spend years learning about math, science, history, but how much time do we spend learning about ourselves, not just our favorite color or food, but our fears, our values, our triggers, our tendencies, the things that shape our actions quietly, day after day, and more importantly, our why. Why we say yes when we mean no, why we chase validation, why we avoid stillness. So many of us are walking through life reacting, not reflecting, and that's where the Stoic path begins, with honest observation. Imagine this like a daily practice. Each night or each morning ask, what did I do today that felt aligned with who I am? What pulled me away from myself? What fear did I let control me? What truth did I avoid speaking? These aren't easy questions, but they are freeing ones, because when you know yourself, you stop being so easily shaken by the world. You stop bending every time someone else has an opinion. You start living from within, not from pressure, not from trend, but from truth. And that is where real authenticity begins. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic philosopher, used to write in his journal each day, not to impress anyone, but to remind himself of who he wanted to be. and how far he still had to go. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, he wrote. What colors are you thinking in? What thoughts are painting your reality? Are they even yours? Or are they borrowed from a world that never stopped to ask who you are? To know yourself is not a destination. It's a practice, a devotion. It means sitting with the uncomfortable, admitting when you've been pretending, owning what you've outgrown, and perhaps most importantly, learning to forgive the parts of yourself you once hid. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to evolve. In fact, that's the point. Authenticity isn't about arriving. It's about unfolding, layer by layer, truth by truth, until what's left is no longer performance, but presence. And the Stoics remind us of something vital. Know what you can control, and who you are is one of them. You can't control the opinions of others. You can't control every outcome, but you can control the path you walk and the person you decide to be. That power, that clarity begins with knowing yourself. And no, it doesn't happen overnight, but with every small reflection, you get closer. With every honest journal entry, you go deeper. With every mindful moment, you remember. You are not your mistakes. You are not your fears. You are not who the world told you to be. You are who you choose to become. So today, take a moment, find a quiet place, and ask gently, who am I when no one's looking? What do I value when no one's pressuring me? What matters to me beneath all the noise? The answers won't always be loud, but they will be honest. And that's where your life begins to change. Not when you become someone new, but when you finally come home to yourself. Every day, in ways big and small, we are asked a silent question. Will they approve of me? It hides beneath our words, behind what we wear, in the captions we post, the decisions we make, the silence we keep. It's subtle, but powerful, because the truth is we all want to be seen, to be valued, to be accepted. But somewhere along the way, a quiet shift happens, and we stop living for meaning and start living for validation. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And nowhere is that more true than in the fear of being judged. We imagine the worst. They'll laugh. They'll think I'm not enough. They'll say I failed. And so we hesitate, we hold back, we wait for permission to be ourselves. But what if no one's looking? What if no one's clapping? What if there's no spotlight, no applause, no recognition? Would you still live this way? Would you still do this thing? If no one noticed, that question alone can change your life. Because here's the quiet trap. When you live for approval, you lose your sense of direction. You go where others point, not where your values lead. You chase trends, not truth. You follow crowds, not clarity. And slowly, your life becomes a performance, not a presence. But the Stoics offer something radical. Live not to impress, but to align. Align with what? With your principles, with your reason, with your sense of what is right, even if it's not liked. There is real freedom in detachment, not coldness, not apathy, but a calm strength that says, I know who I am. I know what I value. I don't need you to approve for me to be at peace. That's not arrogance. That's self-trust. The kind that doesn't shake with every opinion. The kind that doesn't crumble when the likes are low. The kind that doesn't need applause to feel whole. Think about this. A tree doesn't grow faster because people cheer it on. It grows because its roots go deep into something real. You too need deep roots. Not in attention, but in awareness. Ask yourself often, am I doing this to be seen or because it's meaningful to me? Am I saying this because I believe it or because I want to be accepted? Would I still do this if no one ever gave me credit? These questions are uncomfortable, but they're necessary because they lead you back to you, to the quiet, honest self who knows what matters without the noise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about their opinion than our own." It's a strange contradiction, isn't it? But it's also a choice to break free from the endless seeking, to let go of needing everyone to agree, to applaud, to understand. Some won't. That's okay. Your peace was never meant to be built on their permission. You are not here to be liked. You are here to live, to serve, to grow, to create, to love, to tell the truth, even when your voice shakes. The Stoics didn't ask, will this get attention? They asked, is this in harmony with virtue? That's the deeper compass, and it never points you wrong. So today, pause and reflect. What choices am I making for others instead of for myself? What would I stop doing if I no longer needed approval? And most importantly, what would I start doing if I believed I was already enough? You don't have to chase the world's applause, you only need to come home to your own. Because peace isn't in being seen, it's in being true. Somewhere deep inside many of us, there's a quiet belief: if I want to live authentically, I have to be flawless. We think, I need to be calm all the time. I must have all the answers. I should never feel doubt, fear, or contradiction. But that's not authenticity, that's performance. Being real doesn't mean being perfect. It means being honest. And sometimes honesty means saying, I'm not okay today. I'm still learning. I made a mistake. I don't know yet. You see, authenticity is not the absence of flaws. It's the presence of courage, the courage to be seen fully, even in the messy, confusing, uncertain parts. The Stoics understood this deeply. They never taught us to be cold, emotionless statues. They taught us to observe, understand, and work with our emotions, not deny them. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor burdened with the weight of the world, wrote note nightly in his journal about his anger, his temptations, his inner conflict. He never claimed to have mastered himself. He only committed to trying. And that's where the power lies, in the commitment. Perfection is a moving target, but growth is grounded. When we chase perfection, we pretend. We wear masks. We hide our doubts. We build walls around our weaknesses, hoping no one will see. But when we embrace growth, we become real. We show up, even when we're unsure. We own our flaws, not as excuses, but as stepping stones. We say, I'm a work in progress, but I'm not giving up on myself. That's not weakness, that's strength. Seneca said, while we teach, we learn. And maybe while we struggle, we also learn. We learn patience, we learn humility, we learn how to fall without losing ourselves, and how to rise without arrogance. We learn to treat ourselves not as projects to be completed, but as living beings to be cared for. That's what Stoicism teaches. Self-discipline with self-compassion. Hold yourself accountable, yes, but don't hold yourself hostage to impossible standards. There will be days when your thoughts are scattered, when your emotions feel louder than your reason, when the version of you that shows up doesn't match the version you hoped for. That's okay. You're not broken. You're human. Even Epictetus, who taught discipline and control, reminded us, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. That includes your own emotions, your own journey, your own imperfection. Here's something powerful to remember. You can be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. You can hold wisdom and still struggle. You can walk with clarity and still trip on old habits. You can love yourself and still want to change. It's not contradiction, it's growth. And that growth happens in the middle of the mess, not after it. So the next time you feel like you failed, the next time you think I should be better than this, I shouldn't feel this way, I'm not enough, pause, breathe, and remember, being authentic doesn't mean being flawless. It means being faithful to your values, your effort, your honesty. You don't have to hide your inner conflict. You don't have to fix everything before you're allowed to show up. You just have to be willing to be seen, willing to grow, willing to try again. That's where transformation begins. Not in the perfect version of you, but in the present version of you, the one that's still trying, still learning, still here. And that, more than anything else, is enough. There's a quiet kind of peace that not everyone talks about. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it won't show up on your resume or your social media feed, but you feel it. When your choices reflect your values, when your actions and your beliefs are in harmony, you carry yourself differently. You don't need to explain. You don't need to justify. You just are. That's the power of alignment. Living truthfully isn't about grand gestures. It's about small, consistent, honest actions. It's saying no when something doesn't feel right, even if everyone else is saying yes. It's telling the truth, even when it would be easier to stay silent. It's choosing patience over anger, clarity over ego, values over convenience. That's what integrity is. Doing what's right, not what's easy. Marcus Aurelius captured this in one simple sentence. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. It sounds simple, but it takes courage, because we live in a world that often rewards the opposite. A world where shortcuts are celebrated, where bending your truth can bring applause, where popularity sometimes asks you to compromise who you are. But when you do, when you trade your values for validation, you might gain approval, but you lose something else, your peace. Stoicism isn't about following rules for the sake of rules. It's about living by principles, no matter the circumstance. What kind of person do you want to be when no one is watching? When there's no praise, no recognition, no external reward? That's your true compass, and each time you honor it, even in small ways, you build something far more valuable than reputation. You build self-respect. Seneca once wrote, "A good character, when established, becomes a habit." You don't need to wait for a huge moment to prove who you are. The real practice happens in the little things. Returning the cart at the grocery store, admitting a mistake instead of hiding it, speaking kindly when you feel irritated, choosing what's right, even when no one notices. These choices might feel small, but over time, they shape your entire life. You see, when your actions match your values, you stop feeling torn inside. You don't lie awake at night, wondering if you betrayed yourself. You walk lighter, you speak clearer, you trust yourself more. And when you trust yourself, the opinions of others don't shake you so much. You stop chasing validation because you're already standing on solid ground. That's the quiet power of integrity. But alignment doesn't mean perfection. There will be times when you fall short, when your actions don't reflect your highest values, when you look back and think, I could have done better. That's okay. What matters most is that you notice and adjust, that you come back to center, that you learn from the misstep and choose again, this time with more clarity. The Stoics didn't demand flawlessness. They encouraged reflection. They knew that growth is a daily process. Each moment offers a choice. Will I live by habit or by principle? Will I act from fear or from truth? Will I follow the crowd or follow my inner compass? So today, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what are the values I want to live by? Where have my actions felt aligned? Where have they strayed? What's one small adjustment I can make to come back to what matters? You don't need a dramatic overhaul. You just need honesty and the courage to follow through. Because when your actions reflect your values, you don't just feel better about your life, you feel better within your life. And that peace, that quiet strength, it stays with you. Even when no one else sees it, because you see it. And that's what truly matters. There comes a moment in everyone's life when they look around and realize the crowd is moving, but it's not going where I want to go. It's a quiet discomfort, the kind that stirs your soul and makes you ask, am I living my truth or just following footsteps that were never mine? That question is at the heart of authenticity, and the answer is rarely easy, because being true to yourself, it often means standing still when everyone else is rushing, speaking gently when the world is loud, choosing differently, knowing you might be misunderstood. The Stoics taught this with beautiful clarity. They didn't try to blend in. They didn't measure their lives by trends or approval. They chose integrity over imitation, purpose over popularity, and they warned us of something that still echoes today. Conformity can cost you your soul, because when you try too hard to fit in, you begin to shrink, to twist, to bend away from yourself until you can't even remember who you were before. In today's world, the pressure is constant, to keep up, to be seen, to impress, to post, to prove. But here's what comparison really does. It distracts you from your path, your progress, your values, your unique rhythm. You start measuring your journey by someone else's highlight reel. And that's a trap, because you can't win a race that was never meant for you. Seneca once wrote, "No man becomes great by imitation. True greatness begins within, not by copying others, but by cultivating your own mind, your own heart, your own way." And here's the paradox. The more you chase the life others seem to have, the further you drift from the life that's truly yours. The more you compare, the more you feel behind. The more you conform, the more you feel invisible. Not because you're not enough, but because you've abandoned what made you you. So how do we resist? How do we stay grounded when the world is pulling us in every direction? The Stoics offer us a compass, not a list of rules, but a mindset of self-mastery, of asking, what do I truly value? What kind of life do I want to build? Would I choose this if no one else approved? And then living by those answers, quietly, consistently, even if no one claps, even if no one understands, because inner peace, it doesn't come from fitting in, it comes from alignment. Marcus Aurelius said it best, Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. Be the cliff. Still, centered, unmoved by comparison, untouched by the need to prove. Not because you're stubborn, but because you know yourself. And what you protect. This doesn't mean isolating yourself or rejecting connection. It means building your life from the inside out, not the outside in. It means learning to admire others without diminishing yourself, to appreciate success without envying it, to walk alongside others without walking away from who you are. You don't have to follow the crowd. You don't have to keep up. You don't have to live a life that looks good from the outside but feels empty within. You just have to listen to that quiet inner voice that says, "This is who I am. This is what I believe. This is where I stand." And when you listen long enough, you start to trust it. You start to follow it. Not because it's the easy path, but because it's yours. And that, more than anything else, is the beginning of peace. Living true to yourself doesn't always feel easy. In fact, sometimes it feels like walking upstream while the rest of the world rushes in the opposite direction. But here's what the Stoics knew. The harder path is often the one worth walking. Because when you live in alignment with your values, when your words, your choices, and your actions reflect who you truly are, something subtle but powerful happens. You stop feeling torn. You stop pretending. You stop performing. And instead, you start to feel whole. That's the quiet strength of authentic living. It's not loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't depend on applause, trends, or external approval. It's rooted in something deeper, something unshakable, your truth. And when you begin to live from that place, your life may not always get easier, but it will become more meaningful. You'll still face pressure. You'll still feel doubt. You'll still be tempted to conform. But the difference is this: you'll know who you are, and you'll return to that knowing again and again. Because authenticity isn't something you achieve once and for all. It's a practice, a habit, a choice you make every single day. And sometimes it's not about big decisions or dramatic declarations. Sometimes it's as simple as asking yourself, what's one way I can be more honest with myself today? Maybe it's admitting that you've been trying to be someone you're not. Maybe it's speaking up when you'd usually stay silent. Maybe it's saying no, kindly, but firmly. And maybe it's allowing yourself to change, to outgrow what no longer fits. That one small act of honesty, it's enough. Because honesty with yourself is the beginning of all freedom. It's the moment you stop running, stop hiding, stop needing the world to define you. And in that stillness, you find something rare: peace. The Stoics weren't concerned with appearances. They cared about the state of the soul. They asked, not what do others think of me, but rather, am I acting in harmony with virtue, with reason, with my higher self? That's the real strength, not in being liked, but in being real, not in meeting expectations, but in living with intention. You are allowed to be who you are. You're allowed to walk a path that others don't understand. You are allowed to change your mind, your habits, your life, if it brings you closer to truth. This is your journey, your unfolding, your inner freedom. No one else can walk it for you, but you don't walk it alone, because with each step you take in honesty, you inspire others to do the same. And that quietly and powerfully creates a different kind of world. So as this reflection comes to a close, take a breath. Let go of the pressure to be perfect. Let go of the need to impress. Let go of the idea that you have to have it all figured out. And instead, hold on to this. Being yourself, truly, simply, bravely, is more than enough. Live from that place, grow from that place, speak, act, and move from that place, and you'll begin to feel it. Not the loud kind of strength the world celebrates, but the quiet kind, the kind that comes from being you, unfiltered, unshaken, unapologetically whole. Thank you for walking this path of reflection. Keep choosing honesty, keep practicing presence, and keep coming home to who you are, because that is where peace lives.